One of New Zealand's largest specialist residential property managers has been slapped down by the Tenancy Tribunal for unlawfully charging tenants a letting fee. A group of 4 flatmates in Wellington took Quinovic to the tribunal after they were asked for large sums of money before they'd signed a tenancy agreement. Laura Dooney explains.
Wellington man Ben Knight and his 3 flatmates thought they'd secured the perfect flat nestled up in the hills of the Wellington suburb of Wilton. The house was first listed privately by the landlord, but then relisted through Quinovic as the landlord lives out of town and couldn't show potential tenants around. There were no plans for Quinovic to manage the property after that. Mr Knight and his friends were offered the flat in December last year, but then, he says, Quinovic started demanding money.
Straight away, Quinovic basically said we needed to pay a $1,000 deposit within 24 hours in order for them to go ahead with the tenancy. We thought it was a little bit strange, but we were really keen to get the place. It's really hard to find a place in Wellington at the moment. So we paid them a $1,000 deposit.
Mr Knight also claims Quinovic demanded a further $1,500 before the flat was theirs, but this payment was not considered as part of the hearing as there was no formal record of it. During the hearing, Quinovic confirmed the $759 letting fee was taken from the $1,000 deposit, as set out in an email sent a few days after it was paid. The tribunal ruled this was unlawful, as the letting fee was charged after the tenancy was granted, and there was no evidence a letting fee was part of the contract. Tenancy agreements must state if there is a letting fee. Mr Knight says unlike many people, he and his flatmates were lucky to be in a position where they could challenge Quinovic.
Even for us, it was a real effort. It would have been really easy to just let it slide. I guess the head of the company hanging up on you gives you some motivation to see it through and use the legal avenues available. So yeah, I'm really glad we did, even though it was a massive pain.
Ben Knight says the sector lacks regulation and fears property managers can take advantage of tenants and landlords. Housing researcher Dr. Lucy Talfa-Barnard agrees.
Anybody can be a property manager. Anyone can sign up to a property management firm with no real previous training or understanding and learn on the job or not learn at all.
But she says property managers do have their place.
Many of them do have their tenants' interests at heart. I used a property manager myself when I was living overseas, and they were fantastic, but landlords need to be very careful about who they use and making sure that they come with good recommendations.
Dr. Lucy Talfa-Barnard says Housing Minister Phil Twyford's plan to get rid of letting fees is overdue. The Wilton landlord, Mark Roach, says he supported Mr Knight going to the tribunal.
I like to stand my ground when I've been aggrieved. I know Ben was pretty upset about it, and I said, well, don't just take it lying down. I think you should try and do something about it.
Quinovic has been ordered to give the money back to the renters. Quinovic Wellington's Chief Operating Officer Paul Chapman says it's standard practice to charge a letting fee after a tenant has passed the checks and been successful in getting a flat. He says he'll be following up on the tribunal's decision to see if there's anything to be learnt or that needs to be addressed. In Wellington, for Checkpoint, call Laura Dooney aho.